This video is going to work out and talk you through all of the problems that are on your test review for Unit 1 test so that you can check your own answers and hear the correct explanations behind ones that you may have otherwise missed. Then you can use this to study off of to be ready for that test. For 1 through 5, you're naming the properties that are being shown. So in number 1, if you notice, the parentheses have changed around two different groups of information. So this is known as the associative property. And don't forget that with associative, there is more than one type, so we definitely want to put what operation it is. This one was multiplication. If you look at number 2, you have positive m adding negative m to it, and you get 0. That would be the additive inverse, or inverse of addition. For number 3, 3k plus 2 equals 3k plus 2. Everything is exactly the same on both sides. This is your reflexive property. For number 4, if a equals 5 and b equals 5, then a equals b. That has the keywords if and then, which means this is the transitive property. And in number 5, x plus 2 is in parentheses on the left, and then if you look on the right, it's also the same on the right. But the one thing that is moved is the plus 3 is in the back, and now it's in the front. So this is the commutative property of addition. Okay, there is no word bank on your test. You have to know your properties by name and be able to name exactly which one you're looking at. For 6 through 10, you're naming all the subsets or categories of the real number system that each number belongs in, not just the last one it sits in, but all of them that it belongs to. So for negative square root of 49, that's like saying negative 7. So we're trying to think of where negative 7 would belong. It is rational because it can be made into a fraction. It is an integer because it is found on the number line. It is not a whole number because it's not above 0. When you go to number 7, do not touch the calculator. You don't need to. If it's already written as a fraction, then the only thing it can be is rational. You will not find fractions on number lines or anywhere else. For number 8, it is a decimal that stops, 4.298. So because it stops, it is also rational because it can be made into a fraction. For number 9, square root of 80, because 80 is not a perfect square, anytime you take the square root of a non-perfect square, it's an automatic irrational number. And then for number 10, if you take 64 divided by 4, that is the same as the number 16. The number 16 is rational. It is an integer because it's on the number line. It is a whole number because it's above 0. And it's natural because it's above 1. So that one belonged to everywhere. You can include real in all of your answers, but you don't need to at this point. If you just give me those categories, you're in good shape. All right, for the next few problems, we're looking at order of operations and evaluating, right? And we want to see if we can follow it. Remember that with order of operations, you want to think about GEMDAS, not PEMDAS. That way you know that the G stands for all grouping symbols, not just parentheses. All right, so in number 10, the first thing you need to do is take the letters out and put the numbers in. So when I do that, that gives me 10 minus 6 in parentheses to the 5th power. Okay, you want to do parentheses first in this case. 10 minus 6 is 4. And then when you take and do 4 to the 5th power, your answer comes out being 1024. For number 11, I want to take the letters out. So this is in parentheses 3 times 4. Close your parentheses and then put the squared. And then it's minus 9 squared. Okay, so we want to go ahead and do the parentheses first. 3 times 4 is 12. So now we have 12 squared minus 9 squared. Exponents come next. 12 squared is 144. 9 squared is 81. You can do both of those in the same step. And then when you subtract 144 minus 81, you do get 63. So 63 is your answer. All right, for 12 and 13, there are no letters to take out, numbers to put in. It's just straight up order of operations. All right, so we want to start inside the brackets, and inside the brackets, you still want to follow the grouping symbols. So we're going to go in the parentheses, and in the parentheses, we want to do the exponents. So we have 3 bracket 7 parentheses 14 minus 8, because 2 to the 3rd power is 8, plus 5 bracket minus 18. Okay, staying in brackets, you still have those parentheses. 14 minus 8 is going to make 6. So we have 7 times parentheses 6 plus 5 in brackets minus 18. Still staying in brackets, you want to multiply next. So 7 times 6 is 42 plus 5 in brackets minus 18. Brackets still have work to do. 42 plus 5 is 47. Then minus 18. Then you want to multiply 3 times 47, and that gives you 141. And then 141 minus 18 will give you the answer of 123. Okay, so just making sure you follow the flow of things. For number 13, again, we have brackets and parentheses, so inside the brackets, go to the parentheses. 4 plus 9 is going to be 13, minus 3 squared, divide by 2. Okay, then we're still staying in the brackets. We want to do exponents next, so that gives us 5 times 13 minus 9 in brackets, divide by 2. Then we want to still stay in those brackets. 13 minus 9 is 4, so 5 times 4 divide by 2. And now we only have multiplying and dividing left, so you have to go left to right. 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 divided by 2 gives you the answer of 10. All right, when we go to number 14, we're back to taking letters out and putting numbers in, the substitution piece. All right, so this gives us 6 parentheses 6 minus 1 on the top, and 2 times 6 plus 3 on the bottom. Right? And you can do things on each level at the same time. You don't have to just do only the top and then only the bottom. So starting with parentheses on the top, 6 minus 1 is 5, so the top becomes 6 times 5. On the bottom, the first thing you can do is multiply. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 3. Right? So then if we still keep going, 6 times 5 is going to give us 30, and 12 plus 3 is going to give us 15. And now we're at the point where 30 divided by 15 will give us our answer, which is 2. Right? For the next problem, number 15, you're going to have to demonstrate that you understand the vocabulary of terms like terms, coefficients, and constants from that one expression that is given. Right? So the first thing we want to do is identify the terms. Remember, terms are separated by plus and minus signs in the problem. Right? Everything is a term, but you got to make sure you take the sign with it. So 6x squared is a term. Then we have negative 3x. Then we have positive 1. Then we have negative 5x squared. And then we have positive 2. You don't have to write those plus signs if you don't want to, but they're there and it helps you separate them. Now, from those list of terms, you want to pick out the ones that are like each other because they have the same last name, the same variables, the same exponents, or none at all. Right? So in this case, there's 2 like term sets that we can use. 6x squared is like negative 5x squared because they both have x squared. So that's one family. And don't keep using commas, actually separate the 2. And there's another set of like terms, and that's the 1 and the 2, because they are just regular numbers, right? That's why they're like each other. Okay, coefficients are your numbers in front of the variables. So the variable x squared has a 6, that's a coefficient. The variable x has a negative 3, that's a coefficient. And the variable x squared has a negative 5, so that's a coefficient. Constants are your numbers without variables. So that would be your positive 1 and your positive 2. Okay, so make sure you know the vocabulary and that you can pick out these things from an expression because you will have one just like this on the test. All right, for the next part, simplify each root. Okay, whether it's square root or cube root, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Right, so with this one, you want to take and break it up so it's the square root of 144 over the square root of 16. It's a lot faster to do that way. The square root of 144, because it's a perfect square, is 12. The square root of 16 is 4. And you should easily know that 12 divided by 4 is 3. So it's a lot safer to do once you break it up. Same thing's going to happen with number 17, but this time we're using the cube root of 64 and the cube root of 27. Remember to find the cube root button on your calculator. It's under the math button, and it's number 4. Okay, remember you can also not ask me that question during the test. You have to know where these buttons are located. All right, the cube root of 64 is 4, and the cube root of 27 is 3. 4/3 cannot be reduced, and you don't want to turn it into a decimal, so the fraction stays 4/3. Okay, if it divides, you have to divide it, but if it doesn't divide, you leave it a fraction. All right, for numbers 18 and 19, you're estimating each one to the nearest whole number, so they will be decimals, but you want to round it to the nearest whole number. So when you type in the square root of 73, okay, it gives you 8.5 something, so that gives you the rounded off number of 9. Okay, and when you get to number 19, the cube root of 109, okay, it gives you a number that will round off to 5. Okay, so just make sure you know how to round to the nearest whole number. All right, for this next section, this is the one that we said that you need to slow down and be careful of and watch out for because it is typically the weakest section on the test, but it doesn't have to be. All right, this is your distributing and your combining like terms to simplify section. All right, so distributing, remember, just means multiply the thing on the outside times each piece inside. So 5 times 4x is 20x. 5 times positive 3 is positive 15. Remember that that plus sign is attached to that 3. Okay, and the order is good the way it came out. Okay, dealing with fractions, the same thing. 1/2 is an easy one to work with, especially when you're dealing with even numbers. Half of 8x is going to be 4x. Half of -6, and remember that is a -6, is -3. Okay, so you don't have to worry about any weird things happening. When you go to number 22, we're distributing a -3. -3 times 4x is -12x. This is a -7. -3 times -7 is a +21. Right. We go to number 23, and now we've got to distribute and then combine. Remember, distributing must always happen first, but then combining has to happen at the end. So we're not going to do anything with that 9 right now. The -2 is what's being distributed. So -2 times x is -2x. This is a -4, so -2 times -4 is a +8. And now we want to combine the things that can go together. Remember, your variable terms always go in the front and your constants always go in the back. So because I can combine 9 plus 8, that's going to give me +17. There's the official answer and in the correct order. All right, same thing's going to happen with number 24. Now remember in this one that if you don't see a number sitting right outside the parentheses, there's an invisible -1 right there that you have to remember to put in so that you can distribute correctly. Leave the 11x alone. We're not messing with that until the end. -1 times x is -1x. -1 times +9 is -9. Now looking at your statement here, you can combine your x's together. 11x take away 1x is going to give you 10x, and then -9 drops in because there's nobody to go with it. Okay, we go to number 25. We're distributing the 3 first. 3 times 5x is 15x. 3 times -1 is -3, and then bring down +7. The two numbers that can go together are -3 and +7, so the answer is going to be 15x plus 4. Okay, we go to number 26. We need to distribute the 2 first. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 1 is +2, and then bring down +4x. This time we're combining the +4x and the +6x together. So that's going to give us 10x, and the +2 doesn't have anybody to go with, so it drops in. All right, for number 27, you have to deal with a fraction. Okay, and this fraction is not as pretty as 1/2 was. It still works, and it's still going to go away for the most part, but you've got to know what to do with it. -4/7 times x is -4/7 x. Now 7 can go into 35, so we cross off the 7 and change the 35 to a 5. And you multiply -4 times 5. Well, that gives you a -20. And then you bring down -12. Right? So now when we go to combine like terms, the only thing we have to combine are these constants here in the back. So the final answer for number 27 is -4/7 x minus 32. Okay, so you will have to use fractions that aren't always the easy ones, but do not change them to decimals. That won't get you anywhere. All right, then the last 3 problems deal with translating, because that was the last topic we taught in this unit, and we want to make sure you understand what to do. Okay, when it says $40 less D, $40 less D dollars, okay, that less without the than means subtract, but the order does not change. So it literally is 40 minus D. When you go to number 29, now it says less than. As soon as they insert that word than, now you have to switch the order. So 8 less than a number y is really y minus 8. That 8 has to go behind the minus sign. All of that is divided by 3. So we use the division bar and then put a 3 on the bottom. Do not use the old elementary symbol that looks like this. Those are no longer acceptable in translating, and they make the problem not as easy to read, and they don't say the same thing. All right, then the last one, a bag of candy has 230 pieces in it, and you wish to share it among your F friends. So anytime you share something, you're dividing it up. So this would be 230 divided by F. Okay, so you'll have some translating to do on the test as well. Nothing super duper hard, but if you go back and look through your notes and look at some of the ones we practiced with in class, you'll be in good shape. All right, so use this to learn from your mistakes and to focus your studies on where your weaker points are and prepare yourself for the upcoming test.